Welcome to Too Legit to QT with me, Quoia and Tish, where you can
Wow,
get
y'all.
it
I know. Why we gotta go with the slogan, the girl? Because you know, I'll be straight up forgetting the whole like, let's get it done.
But that's okay, because that's why we best friends. So I'm gonna remind you where you can
get it done
with Tish and be on your come up with Quoia. Today we are super excited because we are kicking it with D'Artagnan J. Connor, founder and CEO and head chef of Deezerts. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I feel so honored.
And for those of you who, as Tabitha Brown says, are late to the party, D'Artagnan is my baby brother, but he is the better version of all of us Connors, I would say. And he is the light of my life. And he is a serial entrepreneur. And today he's going to let us know a little bit about how he's created his own opportunities and leveled up and continues to do so. So, I call him WAP, but his name is D'Artagnan. So for these purposes, for everybody, we'll call him D'Artagnan.
Thank you for having me.
They don't get to do that yet. They don't get to.
We're not at that level yet.
Yeah, they ain't there yet.
One day though.
They ain't there yet. Buy some merch and we think about it.
Now we can talk. Get a cupcake or two.
I'm just saying, get a cupcake. We'll talk about it.
Then I could be WAP for sure.
Right. Well, now everybody's calling me Quoia, and before nobody called me Quoia, but because of the podcast, everybody's like Quoia, and it hits in like a different way. I'm like, what, you know me like that? Like, what did you know?
Many names.
I'm just like, yo. But I mean, you know, your fans, people who like the work that you do, they do become like your friends, and friends become your fans, I guess, and vice versa. So,
and I'd be honored for a few strangers to think of me as WAP. I must be doing something right then.
Right. So D'Artagnan.
Yes.
What was the inspiration for starting Deezerts? Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to like start your own business and give us all of that?
I'd be honored to. So I actually started Deezerts around this time in 2015. I was fresh out of high school, 18 years old, and I knew I wanted to go away to school, but circumstances stopped me from going away to school, but I still needed help funding my education. So I know I wanted to go to school for business and entrepreneurship, but I didn't all the way know how I wanted it to come about yet, but I knew I needed help. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when I was 10 years old, I had a business by the name of D'Artagnan's Deezerts. So I just looked at it in that moment. Fast forward, let's flip it. Let's rebrand it. We learned a lot of things in Legal Shield the months before. I say we as in myself and you. We learned a lot of things a few months before about branding and like how to really do legitimate business. So I tried to take those lessons I learned from there, apply them to Deezerts, and really like brand myself. So when it came time to naming, I didn't go with D'Artagnan's Deezerts again because my name isn't the easiest to pronounce, but I want to make sure it catches you. It gravitates like the audience and everybody could just say it, roll off the tongue easily. So after a few weeks, we came up with the name Deezerts, and naturally the slogan "One Slice at that time" may change your life. A few years later, we upgraded. We were confident, and then at that point, we knew one slice would change your life. But it really just started off of needing help to fund my education and trying to make a way out of no way. Honestly.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Bestie.
No, I was gonna say, man, 10 years old and having, I mean, okay, that's you know how I feel about this. Okay, like when I was 10 years old, I was running outside playing with balls and stuff. But these kids these days at 10 years old, they're starting businesses. Yeah. 10 years old, wow. Okay.
It's crazy too, because if I was 10 now doing half the things I was trying to do in the early 2000s, it'd kind of be over. But yeah. I'm just here now to be a vessel for the next generation, to let them know, no, you got things going on and you need to understand what you can really accomplish in this moment.
Right.
That's right.
And just for everybody listening, like he cooks like a old lady from the South. Like, he made me 23, but even when he was 10, he could make like a pound cake like somebody, like an old 80-year-old in Mississippi. So it's not like he's not up here making your just whatever type of little cupcakes, like you make a red velvet cake. Tell us a little bit about the big deal.
Well, so we started off, like I told you, we started off around this time, and we launched Thanksgiving 2015 with our 7-Up cake and our pound cake. Started off at $40 a cake, and from there quickly got introduced to the real life of business. People that are friends, whatever, colleagues, had a lot of comments and a lot of perspective on what I wanted to give the people to honestly help fund my education at that. That was just crazy. But it taught me a lot. It helped me. So in that moment, I launched with the 7-Up pound cakes, Thanksgiving, double backed Christmas with the same thing. And at that point, we were doing pretty good. I think I had started promoting maybe the week before Thanksgiving, and I think I might have got like 10 cake orders, 10 to 14, doubled up in, I think that December, I may have made over 20 7-Up cakes and pound cakes, to where I was building a name, a little traction, to where it told me, okay, well, I learned a lot of lessons quick, because being that I was selling helped me understand, just because people are making comments about certain things, don't pay too much attention to those people, because they're really not even your customers. Your customers are actually sitting here buying your stuff. So pay attention to that and try to drown out the noise. 18-year-old me gave a more excited response than a 23-year-old me would give now, but it took time, had to refine my game. But then we fast forward into Valentine's Day 2016, and that's where we unveiled our red velvet cupcakes and our raspberry swirl cheesecake. And at that point, that's where we knew there's no better way to show your partner you love them than with Deezerts. We kind of decided to take it to another level at that point. And since then, the red velvet cupcakes have become one of our top sellers, hands down. People cannot get enough of them. You haven't had red velvet until you try our Deezerts red velvet.
Wow.
All right.
What were the comments? People were saying?
How dare you charge $40 for a cake? Have you lost your mind? You crook. Mind you, some of these people that are saying this to me, like, there was a girl I went to high school with that said it, and from my perspective, I think she comes from a well-off situation. Got to go away to school and is living her life from my perspective. Where I am in that time, people don't know, but I'm going through a lot of personal family things and didn't go away. And now I'm looking at all my friends go away. So I'm just trying to hold it together and have the best mindset as possible. And I'm from Richmond, California, where a lot of people my age choose to do a lot of different things, then go sell some cakes when they're in a bad time. So I was getting really sensitive at the end of the day when somebody had something to say about me, calling me a crook, a con, how do I charge this, that, and the third? And it's like, I really wanted to be like, how dare you say something to me when you don't know what I'm going through? You don't know why I had to start this business. And also, you don't know all the time and effort I put into making these cakes be what they are to give to the people, to where if you can't buy it or you can't afford it, just mind your business. Because I promise you, I wasn't my target market at that time frame. So I'm not even sitting here making it seem like I can go out and buy a $40 cake, because I wouldn't have. But that's not going to stop me from selling one in that moment, because I had to go after an opportunity. And mind you, some of these people over time have become customers. We've been able to have conversation through some of these issues, growth, honestly. One thing in this entrepreneurial business, like, excuse my French, but my dad is quick to say opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. And that is something to really live by, because you'd be surprised how often everybody wants to come give you their opinion as it pertains to business, and then don't realize that it's just an opinion at the end of the day. But it's just something that you kind of got to deal with while you're doing business. But like I said, some of these people have become customers, relationships still intact. It's just like, just got to know how to talk to people in this game, honestly.
Yeah. So, Wap, how have you been? How have you prepared yourself for opportunities as they presented themselves? Now that you kind of figured out like what's going on with the business, and it's been a couple years. What are some things that you've done to prepare yourself?
Well, I actually went on a few roller coasters through this last 5 years now. We're kind of in our 5-year anniversary. Like, wait.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. We definitely went through some roller coasters. Our first year, we were getting the ball rolling. Like I said, we had our cakes, our cupcakes. Later in that year, I added pies to the menu as well. With everything we do, the crust, the icing, the fillings, everything is from scratch, from top to bottom. So like I really put pride into like really making sure my recipes were to a good enough place to where they're ready to hit the menu, because I'm saying one slice will change your life, so I can't just hit people with anything. So I really took that time and grew it. We had another Thanksgiving special that year, double backed, and pretty much until 2018 things were kind of on the up and up consistently those last few years. Then that summer, I started doing merchandise. Like right here, we had the Deezerts merch with the one slice will change your life on the back. And that was a whole new venture because I had started it in 2018, right as I was preparing to transfer to Cal State Dominguez Hills. So my business has grew from word of mouth a lot, and just from consciously networking and using my parents' connections, my family connections, and I'm deep rooted through here. So it wasn't hard to find an opportunity to give somebody a cake, you know? But I was going out there, and my first launch right before I left, I had a small shipment of like 40 shirts, 20 hats, whatever, right? Black and white, kept it very simple, sold out in a week. Got a lot of traction from that. Like, oh, let me get the hoodies, let me get the long sleeves, let me get the camo, let me get this. Now in business, everybody listening, take notes. Give the people what you want to give them. Have your game plan, have your structure, and you force feed them as you go on your time. Emphasis on all of those yours and yous. Only because I did that, and I doubled back the second time, and right as I was like in the first 2 weeks of being away at that, I decided to order a huge shipment, $2,000 worth of merchandise. I got 40 shirts, 40 long sleeves, 40 hoodies, an assortment of hats, and there was a huge lesson to learn through there. Because in that new environment, I had to rebrand myself. Like, no one just knows Deezerts, one slice will change your life, until I tell them about it now all over again. So, and in the clothing business, it's a whole new business I was starting at that moment, not even necessarily realizing it as that, but it definitely was, because you go about marketing, promoting, and like giving things away very differently in the clothing industry than you would in the food industry. So I had to learn a lot in that year. And I rode around from August to May with that stuff in my trunk. I sold some stuff along the journey, of course, but come May, I ended up giving away like the rest of the hats and like the last 2-3 shirts I had left at this Real Manhood 101 event that went on. Shout out to my god brother. Does some great things out in SAC. But yeah, so I learned a lot of lessons there, and that's kind of where Deezerts kind of hit one of his biggest roadblocks, because I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do next while trying to figure out what makes me happy at that time as well. And that was a hard thing to do. And now I'm kind of like in a new environment, going through some growing pains, and I know what I want to ultimately do, but now some other things are kind of starting to come into play in that journey. But fast forward, I learned a lot and got to refine my game, and didn't do much of 2019, and honestly didn't do much in 2020 as well. I was in a very rough space, but
like most of us,
but God is amazing. I kid you not. Amen. 2 months ago, I wouldn't be able to have this interview in this manner, but in the last maybe month and a half, almost 2 months, it's like God has touched me and said, okay, it's time to wake up. It's time to go get it again. You know the game plan. We mapped this out. I know you think everything was off the table now, but you'd be surprised to see now is actually the time to go get it. And that's kind of what these last few months have been feeling like. So, like I told you about all the lessons I learned in that moment in time. Now, I recently got me an embroidery machine, a heat press. As I've been gearing up for my relaunch with my merchandise, we have something here for the sisters. We got some. We got this going on with some Black queen on there, strong African roots.
Yes.
I felt like if we're gonna come back with some merchandise, we might as well do it for the sisters to get it going.
Amen.
I know that's right.
Honestly, but yeah, I got the heat press. I got my embroidery machine, so I've been learning about that. I also decided to, before I get back out there, I wanted to add beignets and peach cobbler to my menu as well. So at this point, we was in the Fifth Ward or something, because them beignets are great.
Talk about this though a little bit. So just for people on here, when he goes, because you sliding over some humongous things, because when you go to create a recipe, you call it I'm in the lab.
I'm for sure in the lab.
Like you don't roll out anything. There's like months and months of trial and error, because like you said, you only want to give a quality product. And also, I mean, you recently got a commercial kitchen.
I did.
Yes.
Honestly, and that's kind of major.
Yes. So it's really interesting that you're speaking about all of these things, because we've been talking about that on the show, which is now is a great time now is a great time and a humongous opportunity for different people to really like level up because of everything that's happening within our country. And like you said, not playing scared, but just identifying opportunities as they come. And so you talked about kind of like going through a rough patch. A lot of entrepreneurs and artists, they find themselves on that emotional entrepreneur roller coaster. And we all have found ourselves there. What things do you do to stay motivated and inspired when you reach rough patches like that, both good and bad? Like, what practices do you have, and what advice can you give to other people when they find themselves in that position as well?
Over the last few years, I've put a huge emphasis on focusing on my mental health. So I think more so than anything, that alone. I've realized I have anxiety and maybe a few other mental health things going on with myself that I can no longer ignore. Not to say I was purposefully ignoring them. I'm still young, so it's kind of like you start to learn new things about yourself the older you get. Like I talked about those growing pains, start to figure certain things out. But I think trying to go on walks, I realized a walk can do a lot for me and my mental, as well as just trying to stay active. I didn't do a good job over this quarantine time frame of really being healthy. Like, I got to like my tip top shape right before everything had happened. And while everything had happened, I had just kind of just stayed in my bed, and I didn't do a great job of following my tips and tricks, but I'm trying to get back on track now as I'm getting things going. But I'd say just trying to pay attention to yourself more so, in any way that is. I listen to like audiobooks. When I'm kind of dived into entrepreneurial things, or like helping kids or helping the next generation or things like that, that kind of boosts my morale naturally. So I kind of try to focus on those type of things a little bit and just do certain things that are kinder to myself. I try.
No, but I think that's something really important, because one of the things that we keep stressing on the show to a lot of people who are seriously considering being artists or entrepreneurs is that you have to really be in the mindset to do it, and it doesn't matter. And I think we've kind of touched base on this. It doesn't matter what your intentions are, how ambitious you are. I mean, you'll see people in the height of their careers and they'll say, I need to take a mental break, So I think it's really important that people understand that when you are out here trying to make it, like, you got to prepare yourself. I know one thing my husband always says to me, he was like, when you get to a certain place, will you be ready? And I'm like, I always say, you know what, like, yeah, I'm working hard, but it's not about like the work. It's about the mind. Like, will you be ready mentally for all the things that will come your way? Like, how are you preparing yourself for that? So I've taken that really seriously over the last couple of years. And I think it's important that viewers know that they need to take it seriously as well. Like, don't say you want it, prepare for it.
Right.
Prepare for it. Like that mindset. Serious.
Right.
Serious, Bob.
Because wealth and success is a mindset first. I've read so many books and talked to so many people who have reached certain levels in their careers, certain levels in their business, and they all say the same thing. They're like, I had that mindset, but before I got the money, before I got the opportunity, I developed habits, like 7 habits of highly effective people. I developed habits, and those habits led me to accomplish those goals, and those goals allowed me to accomplish, different milestones. And that's when the money and the opportunity came. But it all started, like you said, Tish, with the mind. Yeah. And I think we stress that a lot on this show, but I don't think now we're kind of in like a whole mental health like explode where everybody's all like, I'm woke and aware and conscious, but it's still a little bit of a facade, a little bit, because you can be open at sometimes, but sometimes it's like, oh, well, you have to have it together. You can't be open and honest and vulnerable and say, I'm going through X, Y, and Z, especially in the entertainment industry.
For sure. Everybody doesn't give that safe space for you to be vulnerable, because being vulnerable isn't easy either, though. So it's like, I try not to stress it to people. Like, I don't really have a problem being transparent and like kind of just laying it all out there. But I understand like the reserves that can come to a person not necessarily wanting to put themselves out there, because you don't know how it's going to be received, and people are going to take it however they want.
Right. Well, that brings me to our next point, which is you're a young Black man, and given our current the climate of our country, how have you seen more support as a Black business owner with the recent initiatives to support Black businesses? Like, what is your current experience been in this climate as an African American Black man and business owner?
I haven't necessarily seen the any necessary advances come to me per se as a Black man, Black business owner. But I know there are potentially some things boiling up right now for us opportunity wise. So just trying to keep my eyes open to see what's maybe out there. But I decided to kind of take the path in my own hands to an extent when I was in that really bad space and decided to dedicate the last few months to getting my California real estate license. And I feel like that move alone is kind of what's going to help me get where I kind of want to be as a Black business owner.
So you're diversifying. So now you have Deezerts and you have DC.
Homes by D'Artagnan.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I actually decided to get my real estate license because I was trying to start a preschool / after school program called Our Small World, where we're going to instill the entrepreneurial mindset into the next generation. So through trying to figure out how to bring that to life, I started looking a lot into buildings and spaces and all this, like, oh, okay, this costs this much, or okay, well, this means this. Oh, well, there's equity in here. How can I use that as leverage? So I was trying to figure out all of these things probably around December, and they were all new to me. So through trial and error, was trying to gauge it. But that kind of led me, once the year went and how it went, I obviously wasn't in the position to start the daycare. So while sitting there, I decided to look more into getting my real estate license, because I was like, I'm already paying so much attention to this. And I know owning the land or ownership in general is big for me in general. So it's like, and I want to get something soon. So I said, let me just get into this. I have nothing to lose right now. I'm not taking classes in this moment. So what do I have to lose? And in 7.5 weeks, I could be gearing up to take my test. So for $100 online, I might as well give it a try. So that's kind of what led me to giving it a try. And even in that moment, I didn't know how enthusiastic I was going to be about getting into the field, because at first it was more so just like there's nothing to lose by having it. But as I got further along the months, from April to actually getting the card in my hand by September 15th, I think, it helped me realize like, oh no, I want to brand this up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to incorporate Deezerts with it. We're going to come all the way around. And this is an opportunity to help me invest in property, help educate others like ourselves. And like, owning land is the number one key to getting that generational wealth that we all talk about, right? So I now, knowing what I know, I highly recommend to everybody damn near getting this, because it's nothing to lose but so much to gain. You know what I mean? For the investment that I put in, if I go make a sale, I already got to make that back tenfold. But now when I want to go and get something for myself, get something for my family, or help a family member be well represented, now I could just do it. And at that point, I've been preaching at Deezerts, we can get you what you want, need, desire, and more. And at this point, we're just kind of making that come more into fruition.
That's so interesting. I forgot where I used to go. It was like this equipment house that I used to go to, and they had a cookie business. Mm-hmm. But it was an equipment house. They had a cookie business, and when I would go there, they would just have their cookies just sitting at the front desk, and I would just like every time I would be like, "Darn, these cookies are good. Where do you get it?" And they're like, "Oh, the owner has a cookie business." So when I was in New York, I would go to their cookie business, and at the desk they had the cookies, and every time I went in, I was like, dang, I got to figure out where they get these cookies from. Oh, yeah. They never would like promote it like that. You would just come in and eat it. Right? And you would be like, oh, where do you get these cookies from? They're like, oh, go down here, go there. And I was like, oh, okay, I see how you guys are doing it.
For sure, trying to put them together just like that.
That's so funny. So let's see, Wab. So you kind of talked a little bit about how your business was affected by COVID-19. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because so many students like were in college, and then like the pandemic broke out, and then they just had to like redirect and revamp their lives. So you had a business and you were a student. Like, how was that experience for you? Because I mean, I can't imagine, like, I graduated like during the height of the recession. So as a millennial, there were no jobs to receive us. And so I feel like, millennials, we went through things just a little bit more delayed. Like, we got the jobs a little bit like delayed. We're buying homes later, we're getting married later because we're like trying to get our lives together. But I really feel like, a lot of students have been affected, and they are going to be affected and see the aftermath of what has happened. I mean, you have kids that were out of school that didn't even graduate. You got some little kids that didn't learn anything. Like, so tell us a little bit about that.
I agree with you. Personally, I had actually just came back home maybe last few weeks in February. Between us in the room and the audience, I had a mental breakdown, and I had to come home and decided to dedicate the rest of that semester, and if needed, to focusing on my mental health in that time frame. So there was no business, there was no other business, there was no school at that moment. It was just me and my a billion thoughts, and trying to figure out how to process it all through. And then 2 weeks later, now the world's in a pandemic on top of what I was feeling. And in that moment, while I came home and was supposed to work on my mental health, at first, I could be a very stubborn person, and I can add extra pressure to myself, regardless if it's warranted or not. And through that, like when I first came home, I was so focused on, no, I need to establish my independence. I need to do that. I don't want to stay here no more. I don't want to, like, there was a lot of I don't want us and what I need to do. So for the first few weeks before the pandemic broke out, I came up with 3 new ideas of what I was going to do just to try to prove a point that I am okay. I was going to start this shuttle business. and that it kind of came from my daycare business, because I was planning on having like a big bus to ride around with the kids in, get nice one of those like those kind that the Amazon trucks be rolling in. I was looking to get something like that, so I was gonna have like a shuttle service or something like that, coupling with the food was about to come right back to them, because now I'm back at home, so I'm like, I know I could be about my word of mouth. And I feel like that. Oh, and I was gonna convert my room into a full studio to create my like the Deezerts entertainment angle of Deezerts, because we kind of are creating a media conglomerate as well under the Deezerts umbrella. So I was gonna try to do all that, start making beats. I was gonna try to do a lot in a minute, and once the pandemic kind of hit me, at that point was where I was finally able to just sit back and, in hindsight, sit back and relax. Like, I don't care. I don't worry about it. Don't think about it. I stopped stressing over thinking about ideas. I stopped stressing over school. I stopped stressing over everything, but I had to, just to get back to a right state, just to get back to my realest state of mind, honestly. And that's kind of how my 2020 went. And I kind of told you kind of like the journey a little bit, but that was kind of like that starting point of, yeah, that was nothing until a few weeks ago. Until a few months ago, honestly.
But what I would want to know is like, what advice, like, because I know a lot of people are out there, they probably are similar, we're in school. What advice would you give them for people who are probably going through similar things as you? I mean, what would you tell them? What would tips would you give them? You know?
I would for sure. One of the first things I said a lot to students when I was at Dominguez Hills last fall semester, where we were all struggling trying to pass stats. I was supposed to graduate spring 2020. So that's kind of what I was gearing up towards. And that was kind of one of the big things that I had to like get comfortable with while I was working on my mental health, that wasn't going to happen. But like me and a lot of the students, we would be in our tutoring classes for this stats class and just struggling for no reason, but all of us needed to pass it to graduate. And that teacher gave me an F after begging, pleading, apologizing when I maybe shouldn't have. She deserved for me to go off on her, but I decided to gather it back because I know as a brother, I'm gonna look bad in this scenario. So I said, let me just breathe real quick. But through all that, like one of the things I noticed I kept saying a lot then was just keep fighting a good fight, man. Like keep trying to persevere. You know, like in business, everybody will tell you know your why. Apply that to life, apply that to school, apply that to why you wake up in the mornings, honestly. Because when you're in your best state and you know your why, or you're hungrier to go get it. When you're in your worst state and you know your why, you're more motivated to keep pushing forward when you know there's nothing in front of you, but there's just that faith of a mustard seed at that point when you know your why in those rough times. And that's kind of what I would say to students, because personally, I'm not going to sit here and act like I like school. I hate school. Personally, I kind of hate Dominguez Hills, if we're going to be honest. I've gone through a multitude of issues at that institution. And I only was there from fall 2018 to February 2020. Like I'm still technically taking online classes now, but I was only on campus for a year and a half and have grown a lot of animosity. Learned a lot in entrepreneurship. So you got to take the good with the bad. So I won't neglect making that point. But overall, I don't like it. And I don't like school. And a lot of the time, Deezerts had a rough patch in 2018 and 2019 because I'm even more of a full-time student. Like now I'm not working on just trying to get my AA and a full-time student. Now I'm trying to work on getting my BA and a full-time student and in a new environment. Don't really have the kitchen space, can do merch, but don't really have the oh my gosh. Let me finish my point and then I'm gonna tell you why I said, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Don't really have the resources to kind of get things going. So I had to like, Quoia talked to me a lot about like, well, you're in school right now. Just try to focus. Just try to lock in. Like, it's not going to be forever. It is okay. Like, because I looked at myself like, oh, I'm a disappointment. I'm not doing success. I'm not doing good in my business. I'm like all these negative thoughts about myself and kind of my journey. But in hindsight, I'm a real student right now. So like, you got a lot on your plate. So ultimately, just keep fighting a good fight, honestly.
Right. And you also had like a lot of opportunities. I mean, just for everybody out there, like your your journey as an entrepreneur, when you got involved in, what was that program called? Um,
At Dominguez Hills,
yes, the
the innovation incubator, and
the
that
innovation.
so heartedly was the one reason why I knew I was where I needed to be.
Right. And so you got involved with the innovation incubator, which for those of you that don't know what that is, it's like a conglomerate of local entrepreneurs in the Los Angeles area. And so I remember, sometimes when you go to college, people, it's not really about the degree, it's about the connections that you make. And I mean, almost every week you were calling me, telling me that you had networked with this entrepreneur that ran like this restaurant or this business or whatever in LA, and you were constantly being put at the table and right next to these people.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, like, even me and Tish, we met in college. I think that sometimes people don't realize that college is not just about the degree. It's about, growing up and becoming independent. It's about creating relationships with people and networking and kind of finding out like who you are. And you also got a lot of opportunities that some of them panned out and some of them didn't, like with that opportunity with the cheat day. I mean, that was like huge.
There were a lot of opportunities when I first got there. Like my first month there, I thought I was about to set LA on fire. Like I met this one teacher that I had to go up and tell him because he was my marketing teacher and his intro just sounded so good. I said, you need to know about D'Artagnan and Deezerts then. So I introduced him to me and we met for drinks the next Saturday. And from there, we talked business. We talked what my goals were. We talked everything. The next day, he brings me to like where the innovation incubator met at the school, like in the cuts. And I had to do my first live pitch that day. Like, just pitch. We had a pitch workshop that day. So instantly, now I'm in the room where I needed to be at. And I'm doing things that I need to work at because pitching, going after financing, all that type of stuff is what I'm interested in. So, I'm in the game now. I don't care what we got going on in classes, but now I'm in the game. And that same guy referred me over to these people that was creating a new pop-up in downtown LA called Cheat Day Land at that time. So I was about to have a merch in there. I was about to have a food in there. I was trying to find commercial. I was trying to make moves at first. Few months later, it just didn't pan out. Honestly, the people kind of ghosted me. And it was another thing I had to digest at that time. There was a lot of things I had to digest at that time. A lot of growth, and trying not to take things personal, get too upset about certain things, but just kind of try to keep sharpening my tool, honestly. And that's kind of how I looked at it. Like any workshop they had, influencers, how to run a nonprofit. I didn't have a nonprofit at that time, but I still wanted to know how to obtain funding, how to just anything, like anything in business we were doing, like Wednesday, Thursday workshops. Like I had nothing else to do but go sit there. I promise you that. And that's where I soaked up so much game to where my perspective on my time at Dominguez Hills is like here in Richmond and in the Bay Area, I learned how to hustle. I learned how to go and make $1. I learned how to go make $1 the honest way off of just an idea, honestly. You know what I mean? And knowing I can make proof of concept a thing. But out there, I learned how to scale up. And that's really what I wanted to pay attention to because I'm about big business. But not everybody around here understands that lane. And it's crazy because when I was out there, they helped me see it from A to Z. And as simplified as a process, not to say it's easy, not to say it's like super, like it's doable though. That's the point. You know what I mean? Like I could see Z, I can see what's over there. I can see that I like that, but I can only get to G naturally. Or maybe, you know what I mean? But there to help me complete the alphabet and see point A to point Z and how to execute it, and the steps that's needed to do it, to where now my main goal kind of just became, oh, I kind of got to give this all back to the streets. Like I started learning about co-packers. And that's where if you got a recipe or if you have something that like a drink, snacks, food, whatever, but you want to get into the grocery stores, you got to get a co-packer. Co-packer, they'll mix, they'll process your dry goods, your liquids, whatever, put it into a store. They'll do it to Amazon for you all. But it's about resources and knowing that stuff. And that's kind of what I gained there from my experience. But I had actually kind of overreacted a few minutes ago because my computer was about to die. Now it's on 2%, so I need to go get my charger.
Okay.
But also, there's a port kind of on the other side of this wall, so I may have to kind of just position there and we'll gauge it. But I didn't want it to die, and it was at 5, and now it's at 2.
No worries.
We'll go with you on your journey. So this is interesting that you say that because Daryl was just talking about that. I think it's very interesting because I see a lot of what Daryl was talking about and what you're saying, which is he went to school in Miami, and he really kind of he talked about being a student of the game, and like a lot of people in like whatever industry that they're in, they don't want to be a student of the game. It's just like, okay, I have this thing. Even myself, it's like, oh, I'm an actress. That's all that I want to know how to do. I like, and don't get me wrong, I think that mastery is important. I think, being a master of your work, of your craft is highly important. And I'm not diminishing that. However, I do understand what Daryl was saying and what WAP is saying also, which is, you have to be like inquisitive about all aspects of your business and the very different ways that you can diversify and kind of like, diversify in your industry, and like it goes back to also like with Tish's ebook that's going to be coming out soon. WAP, you said, you just have to understand that it's doable. And one thing that always preaches is that where there's a will, there's a way. I have seen Tish like take ideas or somebody's idea and help them like execute it and complete it. Even myself, to where that's why she's a great producer, because she can actually help produce a product. It's like you said, taking a concept and an idea and making it into an actual reality. So everything is doable, but it's like having the tools and the resources for that. So so let's see. So what's like next for you? Oh, actually, I wanted to get into your podcast. So you have a podcast now. Also,
I did kind of reference it a little while ago.
Yes,
you may not have noticed it if you knew.
You're a fellow podcaster now. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what it's about, and it's another attachment to your Deezerts brand.
For sure. So myself and my friend / CFO / finance guy / financial advisor in Los Angeles, California. Oh yeah, top to bottom. Another fellow Richmond brother, Stephen McCullough. We started a podcast called Real Estate of Mind, where we couple business tips, financial advice, real estate information to the world, honestly. And our goal is to kind of provide these resources that we talk about. Like, I'm an abundance of resources, and I just want to share them with people. And I feel like the podcast allows us to create our own narrative and take people through our journey is really what we want to do, because we're at a place right now where we know where we want to go. And if we get there, it needs to be documented, because a lot of people can take from this and do what they want to do. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to give out some free game, and hopefully you receive it ultimately. And it's called Real Estate of Mind. You can find it on any podcast platform, and the visuals will be on YouTube as well as Facebook on Facebook through Homes by D'Artagnan. But Real Estate of Mine is the official podcast of DC California Realty Group. We got names, ladies and gentlemen. DC California Realty Group is the investment. It's going to be some form of investment company, conglomerate, whatever that me and Steve are coming up with because I'm in the real estate game and we really want to start acquiring properties. So everything multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex, or apartment complexes. And once we get into apartment complex, now like everybody that wants an opportunity can get on this, but like especially like our family or our folks, our friends can get in on these big gains that we're trying to see. And that's kind of like why we got the podcast, but it all kind of ties in because it's presented by Deezerts TV, DZT, ladies and gentlemen. And DZT, we obviously are talking about Deezerts, so DZT is going to be our network that we're creating right now. We're starting off with our business podcast, audio and visual, and we'll have more shows to come. A cooking with Mr. Deezerts, maybe a cooking class for kids as well. So stay tuned because in the next few months, there's going to be a big explosion, Lord willing.
Amen.
Yes, so it's called Real Estate of Mind podcast,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of Mind, M-I-N-D.
Yes.
Yes.
We're just going to help you get into your real estate.
Real estate.
REALEST. Then state.
Oh, real.
Really?
Realness. What a word. So you know what, I want you to kind of like tell them about we talk about having a support system. Me and Tish were each other's like 24-hour accountability buddy, and I think that a lot of people, you know, they're only as strong as their support system, like literally. And you have a really great and amazing group of friends. You grew up with how many of it are you seven?
I mean, it might be between a core 7, but any given day you could range it to 10.
Okay,
10
so like these 10 boys. So I just to put it out there, and they're all amazing within their own right. So he belongs to a group, and all black men, 10 group of black now men, but I remember when they were boys because they played basketball. You don't play you. They played basketball they went to a private elementary school. They played basketball on carpet. It was on carpet. It wasn't even on hardwood floors. None of that. It was on carpet. And they have been friends since they've been 5 years old. They've gone to high school together, junior high school, and they've even kept in touch in college. And all of them, like he has one friend who, we can't say, but anyway, he has one friend that is
episode 3. All I'm gonna say the title is From Day to NBA.
Okay. So to get that exclusive, you have to go to Real Estate of Mind podcast.
The full story, episode 3.
Yes, he has one friend who is a sports broadcaster, a journalist. He has another friend, his friend Steve, who is who's in finance. He has another friend that now is like a wrestler. What is he?
Yeah, he's Deezerts actually officially sponsored him too, which is you guys actually, I gotta, everybody, let's give a quick round of applause to Too Legit to QT real quick, because you guys inspired me. After I decided to be a sponsor for this amazing show you guys are doing.
Will you let the cat out of the bag? Yes.
What you say?
Well, we're announcing. Well, I guess people do.
Oh, word, my bad.
No, it's okay. Deezerts is one of our official sponsors. Woo,
woo, woo.
Yeah. And Blue Lizard Bar and Grill too, as well.
Yes.
But you guys inspired me to go out and talk to other people I know that kind of got things bubbling up. So my friend that we were just referring to, he has a show that's gonna be coming out called Time Out, where he'll be talking with athletes, and his premise is to do whatever they do to like as their release for like their mental health, like so whatever. So like the first episode with this athlete from Cal, they'll be having like a yoga session and talking about his journey and mental health and like different things that help him along his journey and like kind of what's next. So we decided to sponsor that show. So he'll be wearing some exclusive Deezerts merch when that launches. My friend Donovan, he's a kickboxer. And we talked. Right now he's 9-0. On this day, he has his he might go 10-0 if he wins tonight. And he has another fight in December, and then he'll be going pro in February. So it's an exciting time. We decided to have the conversation, and Deezerts has officially sponsored him. You may see me in a mink in December walking out on the fight. So stay tuned.
He's
you know we got to show out at the big fight.
The whole mink.
And maybe the hat too.
with the hat.
Oh, you know we gotta have it.
I like an American gangster that
to a T, walking there looking like Denzel.
I'm not. Okay, so just so for everybody, so that way they know, WAP has an amazing group of young black men, all talented within their own right, and I think that I've seen all of you guys. You've all had your own mountains and valleys in life, and you've always been there. I mean, we've lost loved ones. I mean, people's like their parents have lost their jobs and whatnot. And one thing that I have always seen you all do is just bind together and support each other, and also be vulnerable. I think that it's so beautiful to see men who aren't afraid to lean on one another.
Yeah, we unfortunately over communicate.
Yes, but I think that it just tears down the notion that to be masculine and to be a man, that you have to be strong and you have to have it all together and you can't be vulnerable or open and honest. And I've seen you all do that at different parts in your life, and I think that is I think that that's essential and vital in business and when you're on your journey towards success, to have a support system that you can lean on. And Tish and I, we talk about that a lot on the show, which is like, you need to have people around you where you share similar core values, where you and you want the same things in life, and you create that network that's for you. Everybody ain't for you.
Facts.
So
very true. I'm very blessed to have them in my life. I have a great support system between my friends, my family, and I wouldn't have half of the entrepreneurial game, regardless of who taught me outside in the world. I wouldn't have half the yoke that I have to even go up to these people if it wasn't for the constant tutoring I get from my dad. The main
original OG.
He says I'm the imposter. He's the original D'Artagnan. That man, from watching landscaping, a pizza parlor, a food truck, Christmas tree lots, like we paint houses, we do you name it, we get it done. And he's done a good job of. I've always seen a constant that I didn't always like, where I go away places, I'll do this, but at a certain point I always kind of have to come back to work. And not like just work as in I'm at a desk or I'm whatever, but we're painting the house, or we're laying down some grass, or we're doing a sprinkler system, or we got tile to do, or whatever, you know what I mean? And those moments or those days, usually in the moment, I may not want to do that work, or it's not what I want, but everything that I get while spending that time with my dad and use it with Howard, the OG, I gain more than I deserve. Let's put it that way. Just so I don't be long-winded, but that man, has given me all the game to be able to do the things I want to do. So essentially, between Steve and my dad, those are my two main business partners that we plan to lead forward with. And one of the biggest benefits into DC California Realty Group is the fact that we do have my dad. Like, I can confidently say I know how to build a house, do all this repairs. I can confidently say that I know how to do it because I know I have him with me, and I know I can do it. But if he's with me, I know we can definitely do it because he is the handiest of handymans. Shout out to Handyman Enterprise.
Yes, yes.
So you guys are going to be like that HGTV show.
Literally, we're trying to get the cameras ready.
It's the real estate, and then
you got vision. I'm for sure trying to get that going, and that's why we need to talk to you, honestly. We got a few things cooking because we be out on the job sites, really getting it in, going from ugly to pretty, and then you get to see the customer interactions from ugly to pretty. So it's like,
Well, and just so everybody knows, our dad is the most hilarious person you will ever meet. He's so funny and he's so charming. Everybody loves him, but he's just unapologetically himself. So
unapologetic.
I think that we talked about how to win friends. We talked about how to win friends and influence people. How people like to hire people that they like to work with. Sure. And I think one of the things with Daddy is people just love being around him. Like, not only is he talented and not only does he do great work, but he's literally pure entertainment. Like, you just need him. He's gonna be cracking a joke, or he might even just within like the blink of an eye just say something super profound and really deep. And one of the things that with Daddy that I cherish is that, they say like in a formal education will make you a living, but an informal education will make you a fortune. And the knowledge that Daddy has given us with, just giving us like tangible life advice about life and just life about business and hustle, because he is self-made. I mean, we take that in every arena of our lives. Like, I'm always quoting something that my dad said. Even everything in my mind is something that Daddy said, and I'll just like hear it, and I'm like, oh, it applies here, or it applies there. And I think that that's huge, because people, they go to school and they think that because they have these skills that that's going to allow them to get to where they need to be in life. But that helps you to carry out the job. But what's going to keep you in the game, what's going to like what's going to make you a constant, like somebody that is able to weather any storm, is that informal education, because that's the mindset. It's the mindset. So
very true.
I know that's right. Speaking of mindset, because we're coming very close to the end of our podcast, what are some kind of like some things that you taught, maybe like some mantras, right? Would we say mantras? Is that what it's called, best friend?
So basically we're wrapping this up. So this is our end of the season kind of thing that we're asking people, because last time it was about, racial justice and all that. But so like, what's your mantra for getting your mindset right and staying motivated? Like your life anthem. Like, it could be a song, it could be a quote, it could even be a phrase. But you know how like everybody has that thing that they say that's like, okay, like, you got this. Like, I'll be like, Quoia, get it together. I'll be like, what's one thing that we do, Bestie?
Or you quote a lot of books. That's what you do.
Yeah, I do. A lot of books. I do. Yeah, like, I'm always telling myself like, like, it takes a diamond has to be cut, like, it,
yeah, stuff like that, like
that, it's always something that like I read or whatever, like, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. Like, I'll be crying saying that. Yeah. But like, what's your life anthem?
Well, I definitely use a lot of sayings like that, and you're quick to tell me I have a lot of innuendos I hit people with. But I'd ultimately probably say my two favorite, that all of them I like to say, but my two favorite probably be, shout out to my dad again, don't take no wooden nickels, and remember who you are. Between you, Daddy, and like most like our core, like
And
no, I'm saying our core. Like between you guys, it's like when I would leave or at any time or one of us leaves, like you're gonna get that. Don't take no wooden nickels and remember who you are. And I feel like between those two separate or together, there's a lot of substance because for whatever reason, people don't usually understand what I mean when I say don't take no wooden nickels, but it's kind of like don't be falling for the okie doke. You know what I mean? Like stand 10 toes down, pay attention, like understand the optics. Like if I need to make it that specific, but then also like to remember who you are. Like we live in a world right now where people don't usually know who they are or have identity issues or have or want to be somebody because somebody else wants them to be that way. But in the essence of it, be who you are, and whoever that is, you're beautiful in your own right. You know what I mean? So I think between don't take no wooden nickels, stand 10 toes down, and remember who you are, if you take those two together, I feel like you could be okay.
And I'm gonna take that a little bit further, right? For our viewers, we're gonna talk a little bit about branding, because what you're saying is that your core values, which is who you are, make up, your core values also determine whether or not you can tell yourself that you're an expert, right? Okay. So when you know who you are and you have the experience, then you're not going to undervalue yourself, and you consider yourself an expert, right? Mm-hmm. So I think part of that also goes in a more tangible way for our viewers into branding yourself, like understanding who you are, and that might take a little bit of work. But once you know that, you're not going to undervalue yourself. You're not, what you're saying, D'Artagnan, you're not going to take less than what you're worth, because you know that what you have out there, it's somebody's pain.
Okay.
They don't have the energy. They don't have the energy. They're just like, this is too much. I'm willing to pay for somebody to do that. So we're going to talk about that a lot on the show, guys, this season, because that's how you value yourself, is understanding your brand, understanding that you're an expert, and also understanding that what you have, D'Artagnan, what you have, somebody's willing to pay for. Why? Because it's a growing pain for them. So that's my little.
Yes. You better do it. And I would like to say, like, thank you so much for your transparency and your honesty today. And for our viewers out there, one thing that I want you to peep is that D'Artagnan is constantly creating his own opportunity. He's not waiting for anybody to give him anything. He's like, okay, if this is not working, then I'm gonna do that. Exactly. And so this season is all about being opportunity ready. And so creating your own opportunities, but also when other opportunities come, being ready for that. And this is all the stuff that happens in the meantime after you created that thing. So stay tuned. This episode was brought to you by Blue Lizard Bar and Grill and Deezerts.
One price will change your life, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Just like that. Drop the mic.
Yes. Really appreciate you all. This has been great. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming on. Thank you. So guys, you remember, join us every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. I don't know what the Central Time is, but join us that time.
Oh wait, yeah, I don't know what this is.
Well, we gotta figure that out. We're gonna figure that out for you guys, but Central Time as well. If you figured out those numbers for us,
we love y'all too. So
love y'all.
Everybody.
Come join us every Thursday, and we'll be giving you that advice. We'll be helping you guys feel more confident as entrepreneurs and artists. And we really want you to go out there and do your damn thing. Okay? Do your damn thing.
And check out Real Estate of Mind podcast on all.
As you should. If you're in the California area and you're looking for any assistance, I am your guy. Don't hesitate to give us a call.
I know that's right.
All right. Oh, and then what is your social media handles?
Well, I'm D_WAP WHOP. Deezerts is Deezerts _ it's not hard to find us. And the realty group is DCC Realty, REALTY group. And if you follow, we're following back our first 1,000 followers. So everybody give us a follow and you get 10% off on your next Deezerts purchase, food or merchandise. Don't worry about it. We got you.
Is it kind of like Deezerts, like Deezerts 10 or something like that?
For what?
For their discount.
The promo.
To be honest, I haven't all the way got the coupon structured yet, but I just know for
Find it on your page. That's okay. We got the page up right now. Deezerts at
there we go. That's me.
Find it at Deezerts right there, ladies and gentlemen. DEEZERTS.
And once you find that, you'll find everything else. Our backlinks are available.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds great. Take care.
Bye.